Shortly after his regeneration, the Twelfth Doctor arrives in Victorian London and Clara Oswald struggles to embrace the new man the Doctor has become. All the while, they reunite with the Paternoster gang to investigate a series of combustions that have been occurring all around the city. Welcome, friends and companions. This is your host, Enigmatic Joker. This is not a channel, but a person. Ha 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 ha. Yes, and I'm a passionate and dedicated Whovian. And today we have a 12th Doctor story. Yes, Peter Capaldi. It is actually the first 12th Doctor story called Deep Breath. So, first we do some general info this live stream. Then we'll dive into the plot. Then we'll name some cast members, do some world building, some story notes, and then in the end, the continuity, because the stories and episodes in the universe are to some extent related to each other, linked to each other, referencing to each other, and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So let's go then. So Deep Breath was the first episode of series 8 of Doctor Who. After a surprise cameo in the Day of the Doctor, the special, and a short appearance at the end of the Time of the Doctor, this episode marked the first full appearance of Peter Capaldi as 12th Doctor. Matt Smith made an appearance as the 11th Doctor at the end of this episode in a surprise cameo set directly before his regeneration. The episode also introduced Missy, a character whose motives and true identity would remain a mystery until Dark Water and Courtney Ward's mischief making Colehill Scuden. The episode also features the return of the clockwork droids, last seen in the series 2 episode, The Girl in the Fireplace, with the 10th Doctor David Tennant. Following the success of the theatrical simulcast of the Day of the Doctor, this premiere episode also received a release in cinemas across the world. It had an extended runtime of 76 minutes. Behind the scenes, Stephen Moffat had collaborated with his predecessor as head writer Russell T Davies to create a reason behind why the Doctor sometimes takes on the appearance of people who have previously appeared in the show. The reason behind the 12th Doctor's familiar appearance was later revealed in Series 9 episode The Girl Who Died. Beginning with this story, as all following series of Doctor Who until series 11 were now only comprised of 12 episodes and a Christmas special, while series 1 through series 7 had 13 episodes. So there's some general info about the story. Now dive into the plot. So spoiler alert. If you haven't watched this episode, this story yet, I highly recommend you to do that. Otherwise, it's spoiled. So, in late Victorian London, a dinosaur is rampaging in the River Thames, much to the shock of onlookers. And when the Paternoster gang arrive, Inspector is sure Madame Vastra hasn't seen anything like this. However, she comments, not since I was a little girl. Jenny comments the dinosaur is awfully big. Hit Vastra, connecting her on the common size for dinosaurs and its gender. The Tyrannosaurus is a female. The inspector wonders how the dinosaur ended up in the Thames, with Vastra explaining it time traveled, much to the disbelief of the inspector. Seeing the dinosaur coughing, Jenny uses a wrist-worn device to examine it. There is something lodged in its throat. It cuts up the TARDIS, which lands upright on the banks of the river. When the inspector says the dinosaur laid an egg, Vestra rather incredulously responds by stating, "It dropped a blue box marked police from its mouth. Your grasp of biology troubles me." She then gives him a bagful of sonic lanterns, explaining to put them in 20-foot intervals. Devices will emit a signal that will convince the Tyrannosaurus to remain in place. With a dinosaur confined to the Thames, London will be safe from any casualties from the dinosaur trying to hunt the locals for food. It will also prevent any property damage aside from the bridges. The group descends to the bank, with Jenny curious as to if the doctor is trouble. Pastra nods to Strax to investigate the TARDIS. Strax knocks on the TARDIS door, demanding that the occupants come out and surrender to the glory of the Centauran Empire. The freshly regenerated doctor opens the door, shushing Strax and shutting the door. Confused, Strax asks for the doctor. The doctor opens the door again, letting smoke out. He begins questioning if Strax is one of the seven dwarfs, much to Strax's own confusion. The doctor appears to be suffering from post-regeneration confusion. The doctor and a disheveled, frizzy-haired cleric leave the TARDIS, and the doctor explains a dinosaur was chasing him, but he thinks he escaped. Seeing Vastra and Jenny, the doctor calls them the green one and the not green one, before stating he mustn't prejudge as he could be wrong. Clara tries calming the doctor, who mistakes her for Handel's. He wonders if she regenerated from that robot head before stating Clara's let herself go. Hearing the dinosaur roar, the doctor yells for it to shut up. He yells in shock at them having a dinosaur as well. Listening to it, the doctor tells Foster to turn down the sonic lanterns, as they are giving the dinosaur a headache. Strax questions how the doctor knew, to which the doctor calls him Clara, announces his ability to talk to dinosaurs. Clara points out the doctor's mistake. He defends it by stating they are similar in height, making Strax and Clara share a look. Doctor says everything is going dark and wobbly, asking them to stop. Clara tells him that it's not them doing that. It's him, meaning he's about to pass out. The doctor decides to pay no mind to his condition, telling everyone to take 5. He collapses, unconscious, with Jenny asking who he is and where the doctor is. Clara identifies the new doctor as the same man. Vastra comments, "Here we go again." Back at Vestra's house, the doctor is conscious again and dressed in a Victorian nightshirt, but hyperactive. He demands to know who invented this room, since he never used a bedroom before, and having an entire room to be unconscious in seems pointless as you're missing the room. After claiming that a nearby mirror is absolutely furious, he becomes annoyed about the accent Jenny and Clara speak with, as his accent is now Scottish. He thinks they've developed faults. Foster, however, talks properly by adapting a Scottish accent, which pleases the doctor. She asks him to project the image of perfect sleep into her mind, though he warns psychic linking with the Time Lord would be like dropping a piano on her. However, thanks to the doctor being weakened from his recent regeneration, Foster is able to bounce the image back into his mind, putting the doctor back to sleep to recover. Putting the doctor back to bed, Clara wonders how to change him back. Foster leaves the room, asking Jenny to fetch her veil. Clara explains to Jenny how confused she is about the doctor's new incarnation. He is old and grey, even through its new body. When questioning how she'd react if Foster was different, Jenny points out that Foster isn't even human and that she loves her anyway before leaving. Watching over the doctor, Clara hears the dinosaur wailing. The doctor mumbles in his sleep, seemingly translating its roars into a lament for its lost world, ending with "can't see me, doesn't see me," which Clara believes refers to the dinosaur, which she thinks is off given the size of it. Trax comes in and escorts Clara to Madame Fastra, who asks to have a word with her. Outside on the street, people are still looking at the giant dinosaur. A man called Alf guesses that Tyrannosaurus is part of the government plan in conversation with his wife. Alf then says to a mysterious man there's something wrong with the dinosaur's neck that makes it look unreal. The man replies that Alf has good eyes and he needs to remove them from himself as a gift to replace his bad eyes. He reveals the other side of his face. It looks like a clockwork robot, then proceeds to butcher Alf and take his eyes. In Vastra's study, she questions Clara about how she and the doctor came to be in Victorian London after Transalore. When Clara says that the doctor is gone, Vastra corrects her by stating he renewed himself. This amuses Clara, who finds it ironic as the doctor's new form is aged. Vastra goes on to state that the doctor wears a face as she wears a veil, and that is to be accepted. She wears a veil to hide her face as a judgment on the hearts of others. Conversation escalates as Clara thinks Foster is judging her, but Foster retorts by implying that Clara is judging the doctor because he is no longer the handsome young man she met. Clara explodes, insisting that she is not too shallow, that the previous doctor's looks are what made her travel with him, even insisting that if there were someone who could flirt with a mountain range, it was her. Jenny applauds, surprising Vostra. Pastor laughs as that she wondered what Clara would be like when angered. Pastra explains that a doctor needs all of them, especially Clara, and anchors to find himself again. When Clara realizes that Pastra has removed her veil, uh, she wonders then that happened when you stopped seeing it. Upstairs, the doctor wakes up smelling something. After sniffing about on the floor, he finds a piece of chalk. He writes Califrayan calculations with the chalk around the whole room, including on the walls and floor. Hearing this dinosaur roar, the doctor heads to the door. However, he finds it boring, not me. He then proceeds to climb out of the window and on to the roof. He shouts across London at the dinosaur, apologizing for getting his time machine stuck in its throat. However, just as he vows to get it home safely, the dinosaur spontaneously bursts into flames and collapses to his horror. Inside the house, Vestra and the others hear the dinosaur wail in agony and call for Strax to prepare the carriage. Outside, the doctor jumps off the roof and lands in a tree. Falling from a tree and getting stuck on a branch, he stops the horse and carriage and asks that he will need to relieve him of his pet, much to the driver's confusion. The doctor replies that he was talking to the horse. Jumping onto the horse, he uses the sonic screwdriver to cut the ropes linking the horse to the carriage. As the doctor struggles to properly control the horse and also fails to tell his new hands apart, The Paternoster gang and Clara unknowingly follow him. The doctor arrives at the bridge and quietly observes as the dinosaur burns in flames. He is horrified by its death as he dragged it here to this time. The Paternoster gang arrives, with Clara questioning the doctor's sudden appearance here. Vastra explains the doctor goes wherever there is trouble. They continue to watch the flames, wonder who would do such a thing. The doctor says that that's not a real question, nor is how. The question is, have there been any similar murders? Vastra admits there have been similar ones. The doctor then asks if humans are watching the dinosaur's corpse burn, then who would be calmly walking by? He points to the mechanical man who stole Elle's eyes, who is ignoring these strange events completely. The doctor jumps into the Thames. Clara worries that he'll drown, but Vastra explains that the doctor has taken up the case. The only way to find him again is to do the same. Clara washes up next morning, taking notice of Strax's voice out of the window. He's threatening workmen to be careful when unloading the TARDIS. Greeting Clara, Strax explains the doctor will always come looking for his time machine, and by bringing it here, he will be lured from the dangers of London to this place of safety, and we will melt him with acids. Clara retorts, okay, that last part. Strax apologizes for his verbal fumble, citing it's an old habit. Clara asks for the Times to be sent up to her. Strax promptly throws the paper up to Clara, striking her in the face and knocking her down. Now, in a Victorian dress, Clara makes her way downstairs and meets Jenny, warns her not to disturb Fostera, as she is busy with other cases, including having the Camberwell child poisoner for dinner. Met with a confused look, Jenny explains that Foster will interrogate him first. She warns Clara to stay out of the larder, as it will get noisy later, from the poisoner's screams. Knowing that Clara is still worried about the doctor, Jenny explains that they have the Paternoster irregulars out in force to track him down. Clara encounters Strax once again, who offers her water. Clara at first accepts, but then declines when Strax gives her the bucket of water he has been using to mop the floor and previously bathed in. Strax takes no offense, still not used to human customs. Strax then gives Clara a medical examination, finding her spleen to be in a viable great condition. He moves on to her head, stating she's 27 years old and is silenced about her life expectancy, though not before indicating her prognosis for a long life is excellent, and tries figuring out the image he's seeing her in her subconscious. And so Strax explains Clara may end up serving with him, as London has many dangerous thugs who could kill the doctor in his current state. In his dirty ally Summer, the doctor examines his new face in a small mirror and rummages through debris. As an old man stumbles by, the doctor is confused over why he has this face. Ranting and belligerent, he asks the man's input on why he gave himself this face, noting it's familiar to him. It's like his subconscious is trying to tell him something, but the doctor can't figure it out. Doctor asks the frightened man if he has seen his face before. Intimidated by it, He says he doesn't like the doctor's face. Doctor's not too fond of it either, due to a new potent set of attack eyebrows that seem like they want to seat from the rest of his face and set up their own independent state of eyebrows. Playing along with the doctor's madness, the old man agrees he has mighty eyebrows. Doctor then notes that he has a Scottish accent, which the man confirms. He is delighted by this and excitedly rants on that he can now complain about things before demanding the men's coat. The man whimpers in fear until the doctor brings up a newspaper showing the article "Fourth Case of Spontaneous Combustion." The doctor wonders what devilment it is. The doctor doesn't know, but says he'd be probably blame the English. In Vastra's study, she's busy in front of a board with Jenny posing for her in her underthings. Vastra goes on to explain about spontaneous combustion, confirming Jenny's question if it's similar to love at first sight. Jenny tells Vastra she doesn't need to flirt with her. They're already married. Vastra turns the board, revealing a map and the locations of the incidents. Jenny is not too amused that her wife had her posing for no good reason. Foster tries passing it off as just a whim. Clara barges in, which Foster mistakes as Clara wanting to take Jenny's place posing. However, Clara shows her the adverts. There's a notice in the paper addressed to the impossible girl, the doctor's nickname for her, saying to meet on the other side. Pastor calls for Strax to bring tea, as this is going to take some time to figure out. The four of them examine the entire paper, finding nothing else of importance except the message. They begin guessing that the message means the other side of London or the other side of regeneration after he is recovered. However, Clara states that the doctor isn't complicated and frankly doesn't have the attention span for puzzles. Deciding to keep the meaning of the phrase that simple, Clara checks the other side of the same page, finding Mancini's family restaurant is the meeting place the doctor has chosen. Clara arrives at the restaurant and notices an unpleasant smell. He is soon joined by the doctor, now wearing the tramp's coat. He traded his favorite watch for it. She's horrified to hear that as if it was a beautiful watch. The doctor tries to laugh to lighten the mood, but Clara is angry with him. She asks what kind of person would put a cryptic message in the paper instead of sending a note to someone they've known a long time. The doctor says it would be an egomaniac, needy game player, to which Clara says it's something that hasn't changed. However, Doctor says he doesn't want her to change and doesn't mind playing her games. Having figured out the puzzle, they argue over if the message is for or from the impossible girl, before realizing neither of them plays the ad. However, Clara then realizes the doctor insulted her. While Clara is upset, the doctor is more interested in their surroundings. He makes Clara look at the diners and notice how they are mechanically cutting food and bringing silverware to their mouths, but not actually eating anything. Doctor then uses a hair from his head, prompting her to laugh that if he is having a cull, it's not the only grey hair he has. He then pulls out Clara's hair, telling her that she would have wanted it killed anyway for being out of place. He drops it, deducing that the air flow in the restaurant is only coming from them because the other diners are not breathing. Two stand up to leave, only for every dinner in unison to rise and block them off, forcing them to sit again. A waiter comes over and the doctor asks for a children's menu. Instead, the waiter scans the doctor with an advanced gadget and recites various body parts such as spleen, liver, and kidneys. Clara wonders why such big things would be on the menu, but the doctor informs her that they are the menu. He reaches up to remove the waiter's face, revealing a mechanical form underneath. He presses the face to Clara's own to show her, to her horror, its actual human face. The robot tells them that the restaurant does have a children's menu before locking them into their chairs as the booth lowers itself into a tunnel. The doctor tells Clara efficiency is admirable. Clara disagrees. Finding themselves in a chamber below the restaurant, the doctor says it functions as a larder. It's cheaper to them alive until they're needed for parts. The doctor plans to drop the sonic screwdriver onto the floor and have Clara pick it up with her feet, then toss it to him. As Clara tries reaching the sonic, the doctor mutters he misses Amy. Clara grabs the sonic, tossing a bit too low. However, it does land in the doctor's lap. Sore in more than one sense, the doctor frees them, with Clara asking why the sonic screwdriver wasn't voice activated, before realizing he forgot it was. They make their way to a chamber and find the half-faced man from before sitting in a chair. Around him are pods containing other droids, all dressed and resembling real Londoners. Examining the half-faced man, the doctor realizes it's recharging, and this is not a typical cyborg, but a robot who adds human flesh to himself. The restaurant is their way of capturing random humans to harvest their flesh and organs for themselves, since they require a constant supply of spares to replace their rotting organic parts. The cases of spontaneous combustion are their way of killing the victims quickly to hide the evidence of mutilation, including the dinosaur. The doctor begins to awaken, and the droids begins to awaken, and Doctor and Clara starts to run. A door slides close between them. Clara began begging the doctor to let her in, but the doctor shocks her by saying it's better they're not both captured, leaves her behind. Clara remembers the doctor saying that the robots don't breathe and holds her breath as she tries to walk to the exit. She nearly makes it, but eventually is forced to take a breath and passes out, remembering taunts from her unruly pupils in the past. She had made the mistake of using the biggest threat she could make, expelling them first, leaving nothing else to scare the children with. The students proceeded to laugh at her. Waking up, Clara is confronted by the half-faced man who demands to know where the doctor is. Knowing it's logical, Clara states she will not talk and killing her will have the same result, loss of information. Clara offers it a deal, a question for a question. He asks why it killed the dinosaur, and it is told it was to harvest its optic nerve. Clara realizes the half-faced man was specific, knowing exactly what the dinosaur's organs were like, and asks how old it is. The half-faced man states they have been working for millions of years to rebuild themselves over and over, all in search of the promised land. It threatens to kill Clara, but she remains strong and defiant despite her obvious fear. It then decides to torture would be an effective way of getting information from her. When it asks once more where the doctor is, Clara replies that if the doctor is still the doctor, he will be right behind her and extends her hand behind her. She whispers for him to be there, and suddenly one of the robots grabs her hand. He pulls her back before peeling off his mask to reveal himself as the Doctor in a new suit, who thanks to rubbish robots from the dawn of time for all the gratuitous information. He places his sonic screwdriver into the charger, warning the half-faced man he will blow the entire room if he sees one thing he doesn't like, and that includes karaoke and mimes, so take no chances. Clara is still upset over being left behind as the Doctor states he's not really sorry about that. The half-faced man asks why they are there, and the Doctor replies because of the ad in the paper. The cyborg's confusion makes the Doctor and Clara realize it didn't place yet, with the Doctor hugely embarrassed at his blunder and asking that nobody ever mention that again. The Doctor tells Clara to say the word, and with reluctance she touches her brooch, which lights up as they both intone Geronimo! From a hole in the ceiling, Vestra and Jenny throw down attached to curtains. Strax falls after them. Vestra reports the restaurant has been disabled with maximum prejudice. Police is summoned. The half-faced man calls in more robots as the Doctor states killing isn't their way. Clara protests the restaurant is a slaughterhouse, and the Doctor shrugs it's no different than any other restaurant. The half-faced man declares again that they are in search of the promised land, but the Doctor snaps that after millions of years he should know it doesn't exist. The half-faced man makes his way to the booth elevator and rises up with the Doctor hanging on to its bottom while Vastra, Jenny and Strax are left to fight the other robots. The police are in the restaurant, stunned at its mess, when the half-faced man arrives and informs them it is closed, showing off his flamethrower arm as a hint. The police leave, the head detective declaring the restaurant off limits to anyone before ordering one of the constables to get reinforcements. Back inside, the Doctor is sitting at a table, pouring a drink into a glass, telling the half-faced man he is afraid he is going to have to kill him and offers it a drink first. The half-faced man moves to a control panel with the Doctor following and observing the controls. Doctor states there is no way to escape, but the half-faced man stating that the escape pod is there. The Doctor insists the pod cannot have enough power, but the restaurant shakes. As the police outside stare in shock, the restaurant rises up, lifted by a hot air balloon made of human skin. Below, the rest of the group continues to fight the robots, who keep rising up after steps and laser blasts. Vastra notes that unlike the robots in a Fox restaurant, these were designed for combat and thus have weapons. Strax enraged that these cowards cannot accept that. The Doctor examines a control button that fell off. His pot belonged to the SS Marie Antoinette, since shipped to the SS Madame de Pompadour. But despite how familiar it all is, he cannot place it. The Doctor realizes the ship fell through time, crashing in England millions of years earlier. The other survivors were the service robots who begin their cycle of repairing themselves over and over again. He tells the half-faced man to look out the window at London, asking his opinion. The half-faced man says it is beautiful. The Doctor disagrees, saying it looks tiny and far away from up here. He prefers it down there, where other lives are big and important. Humans are never small to him, and he will fight for them. The half-faced man continues to talk of the need to find the promised land, as Doctor rails on him for the fact that he's rebuilt himself so many times that all trace of his original self has been lost, comparing him to a broom that is broken and rebuilt but still not the same broom. This search was a myth the half-faced man picked up from all the humanity it stuffed inside itself. Doctor holds up a silver plate to say the droid does not even know where he got that phrase from. As the half-faced man stares at his reflection, Doctor does the same. Opening the doors, the doctor tells the half-faced man that it has to end and gestures for him to commit suicide. Angered, the half-faced man attacks the doctor, but is pinned. Doctor tells him that murder is against his basic programming, much like self-destruction is against the robots. Doctor is not wishing to find the promised land and will go as far as he needs to protect the people of Earth. Seeing it can't win, the half-faced man admits that one of them has lied about their basic programming. Below, Clara suggests they hold their breaths, robots freezing as they do. It's too much for Jenny, but Phosphor gives her a kiss to share oxygen. Just as Astrax is about to take his own life, all the robots collapse. Above, the half-faced man is shown impaled on the spire of Big Ben. As the doctor looks out, his expression grim. The gang return to Vesper's home to find that the doctor and the TARDIS have both vanished. Later, Clara asks Vastra if she's got a vacancy since it looks like she's stuck in Victorian times. But Vastra assures her he'll be back. She even further points out that Clara has changed in preparation for returning home. She's proven true as TARDIS returns, telling Clara, give him hell. He'll always need it, as she happily runs off. Clara finds the interior changed. The time rotor now a shade of orange and some furniture about with the doctor seated in a chair. Doctor admits he's not sure about the new look himself. After Clara says she doesn't like it, muttering that she used to have more round things, wondering where they went. Doctor tells Clara, I've lived for over 2000 years and not all of them were good. I've made many mistakes. It's about time I did something about it. He tells her that he is not her boyfriend, which she interprets as her being at fault until the doctor addresses that it wasn't her mistake. The doctor puts the TARDIS in flight, takes a step back, and partially unbuttons his new suit jacket, exposing a flashy red lining inside to show off his new look to Clara. She grins in approval. And then the doctor gets right to business, wondering how she got the TARDIS telephone number. Clara asks who put the ad in the paper, and the doctor reminds her of the woman in the shop long ago, who gave her the number of a computer helpline that instead connected her to the TARDIS. It seems someone wants the two together, and maybe they should find out who. Dr. Lance, and the doctor wonders how Clara feels about staying on as that mystery woman seems to want Clara still having mixed feelings at this new incarnation of the doctor, is unsure if she wants to stay his companion, saying that she doesn't think she knows him anymore. Her phone begins to ring. The doctor teasingly suggests she should get that call because it might be her boyfriend. Staring away from the doctor, she tells him to shut up because she doesn't have a boyfriend. Clara walks out of the TARDIS in modern times to answer the call and is shocked to hear the voice of the 11th Doctor. He explains he's calling through time from Tenzolor just minutes before he changed. Clara, remembering how she found the TARDIS telephone dangling off the hook from the call box, begins to tear up from hearing from him again. He says that the man before her is still him, just changed. Holding back her tears, Clara asks him why he would do this. The 11th Doctor explains he's phoning her because he thinks this generation is gonna be a whopper and that she may be afraid. The new doctor will be, he says, even more so and needs her help to handle all this. She should not be afraid for his sake. The 12th Doctor, now outside the TARDIS, also asks her who is on the phone. 11th hears and asks her if that's the doctor. The 12th Doctor then asks her the same question. Is that the doctor? When he hears the voice of his future self, previous doctor groans over turning old, which makes Clara laugh, as she also confirms his hair will be grey as well. He's not at all impressed at discovery he'll have grey hair, noting for how young he was, and his soon to change appearance. The 11th Doctor says a final goodbye to Clara before he hangs up. The new doctor asks Clara if she will do as she was asked on the call and help him. She says he shouldn't have been listening, but he replies that he wasn't. That was him on the call. He then bemoans that Clara still can't see him, despite still being the same man yet changed. Hurt and upset that she is looking right through him, but doesn't view him as the same person, the doctor, almost on the verge of tears, begs, just see me. Clara walks up to the doctor and gives him a good look over, and concentrates on his eyes. She beams, thanking him for phoning from the past. Clara hugs him, to which the doctor looks a bit confused and wonders where he should put his hands. He says that in his current incarnation he doesn't think hugging is his thing. She's unsure he's entitled to a vote. Clara offhandedly says they are not at her home, and the doctor apologizes. He reveals they're in Glasgow, Clara pointing out he'll fit in with the accent. They go off in search of chips and coffee, but the doctor revealing Clara will have to pay for them as he has no money. However, she thinks he's the fetching sort. Although the doctor is willing to debate this, Clara still isn't sure he shouldn't get a vote. They stroll off together in search of coffee. The doctor still hesitant. Elsewhere, the half-faced man awakens in a beautiful garden and replaces his top hat on his head. A mysterious woman calls out to him, introducing herself as Missy. She inquires if the cyborg killed himself or if the doctor pushed him since she couldn't tell. Missy goes on to claim that the doctor is her boyfriend and that she likes his new accent. Over his initial discombobulation, the half-faced man then asks where he is. Missy laughs, asking him where he thinks he is. She goes on to explain he has finally reached the promised land and that it is a paradise. The woman grandly introduces his new home. Welcome to heaven. She jumps her teeth fatuously, then begins prancing and twirling around on an ornate fountain with an umbrella in hand. And that, my friends and companions, is the plot of this story. I will name some cast members. The Doctor is played by Peter Capaldi. Clara is played by Jenna Coleman. Madame Vostra is played by Neve McIntosh. Strax is played by Dan Starkey. Jenny is played by Catherine Stewart. The Hell-Faced Man is played by Peter Ferdinando. And the Missy is played by Michelle Gomez. And also the Doctor, 11 Doctor, is played by Matt Smith. Um, some world building. In the influences, the Doctor having no memory of the clockwork robots was inspired by Columbo, in which the titular slate would seem nonplussed by references to his old cases. So in locations, the Doctor accidentally bring Clara to Glasgow. Some world building in individuals. In his confusion, the Doctor thinks Clara is a regenerated Handels. Um, Foster claims she hasn't seen dinosaurs since she was a little girl. Another thing is that Clara had a difficult time controlling her pupils in the first days as a teacher in Cole school. A fourth thing is that Madame Vastar uses a Scottish accent. The fifth thing is that as Clara is struggling to reach for the doctor's sonic screwdriver with her legs, Doctor remarks that he misses the long-legged Amy. Another thing is that according to Vastar, the Doctor founded a musical band with Marcus Aurelius as bass guitar player. Another thing is that Vestra's comment, "Here we go again," suggests this is not the first time she's encountered a newly regenerated Doctor. According to a comic, The Lost Dimension, Vestra first met Ninth Doctor and subsequently the 11th Doctor. Some world building with the Doctor himself. Doctor comments on the cold saying he should get a big long scarf, but it looked stupid. For Dr. John Baker. The Doctor has recently regenerated from his 11th incarnation at Smith. The Doctor enhances the Doctor's control room with furnishings such as a chalkboard, bookshelves, and the recliner. He also changes the cold blue neon piping in the time rotor to a warmer amber. And fourth thing is that the Doctor declares he doesn't like karaoke or mime. About species, Silurians have a greater lung capacity than humans. Some other things, some story notes. Um, as of 2025, this is the most recent televised appearance of the Paternoster Gang. They have appeared in audio plays and Dark Starkey has played others on Tyrants, but not Strax. Matt Smith's cameo was recorded during the filming of The Time of the Doctor, as confirmed by Stephen Moffat in several interviews following the preview screenings. Moffat joked that Matt's return was the fastest return ever, considering the fact that he last appeared in the previous episode. This recording recaps the second Doctor momentarily seeing an image of the first Doctor in the power of the Daleks, in a special case of the 1996 TV movie. This marks the first time former Doctor has made a substantial appearance in the very first episode of his successor's era. In this story, also an interesting note is that the role of Barney the Tramp was played by Brian Miller, the husband of the late Elizabeth Sladen, who had previously appeared in the TV story Snake Dance, the fifth Doctor Peter Davison. and TV story The Mad Woman in the Attic. That is in the series 3 of the Sarah Jane Adventures, The Mad Woman in the Attic. Other interesting thing is that it is the first TV story to be sandwiched between two Dalek stories since Mythmakers in 1965, which aired between Mission to the Unknown and the Daleks Master Plan, and also, by the way, all First Doctor stories. Those two stories were intertwined. However, the first time of the Doctor and Into the Dalek, which aired either side of Deep Breath, are separate stories. Um, okay, some continuity because all Doctor Who episodes and stories are to some extent related to each other, linking to each other, references to each other. There's something like continuity. Okay. The Doctor often reflects that he finds the current situation of robots harvesting human organs to repair a ship to be nagging familiar. But his regeneration adult brain is unable to remember. And there's a link to TV story The Girl in the Fireplace with the 10th Doctor David Tennant. Second thing, while performing a physical examination of Clara, Strax makes an observation on her thorax as it links with Sarah Jane Smith in the TV story The Time Warrior. And The Time Warrior is a story with the third Doctor John Pertwee. So Strax makes an observation on her thorax, as did links with Sarah Jane Smith in Time Warrior, and Commander Score with Martha Jones in TV story The Sontaran Stratagem with the 10th Doctor David Tennant. A third thing is that the Doctor wonders who gave Clara the phone number of the TARDIS. There's a link to the Bells of Saint John with the 11th Doctor met Smith. And the main enemy, the Great Intelligence. A fourth thing is that Doctor is sure he has already seen his new face before and comments it has thrown lines that he didn't frown. And that is linked to TV story The Fires of Pompeii. With the 10th Doctor, David Tennant and Donna. Clara learns why the TARDIS telephone was hanging off the hook, wherein she returned to the TARDIS after the 11th Doctor began regenerating. Because he did not patch it back to the console unit, the 11th Doctor dragged the phone by its cord into the entrance of his console to make a private final phone call to Clara in the near future. See it in TV special The Time of the Doctor. Another thing is that Clara asks how to change the Doctor back to his previous body. Rose once asked the same question to the 10th Doctor in his first moments, in which he confirmed he cannot. The TV story Born Again. And Born Again is a Children in Need special. During his phone call to Clara, the 11th Doctor says that his regeneration is going to be a whopper. When describing his imminent regeneration to the Daleks on Transalor, he said exactly the same thing in TV story The Time of the Doctor. And another thing is that the 12 doctors claim to speak dinosaur echoes the 11 doctors claims to speak the languages of horses and babies. We see that in the TV story, A Good Man Goes to War, and a tall tongue called Mercy. Another thing is that Jenny snaps at Phosphor for calling humans monkeys or apes, as Silurians often have. She, for example, TV story Doctor Who and Silurians with third Doctor John Pertwee, and A Good Man Goes to War with 11th Doctor Matt Smith. Strax again mentions using deadly acid as weapon, and also we see it also in TV story The Crimson Horror. When Clara sees the improved console room, she says, "You've redecorated. I don't like it." It was said by both the second and 10th Doctors at the sight of new TARDIS console designs. See in TV story Three Doctors, the Dave Doctor, and the second 11 Doctors have also said this about other rooms. TV story The Five Doctors at closing time. Another thing is that the Doctor wishes he had more round things in his updated control room, linked to the TV story The David Doctor. He remembers he had many round things once. Wonders where he put them. The link to TV story An Unearthly Child with First Doctor John William Hartnell. And he would later add some to the lower section of the control room in the TV story The Magician's Apprentice. Clara Lost interaction with the 11th Doctor takes place on the phone, mirroring the first interaction she had with him as an adult in the TV story The Bells of St. John. The Doctor states that he is now over 2,000 years old. There's a link to TV story The Time of the Doctor, Prose Tales of Transalor, and the 11th Doctor's Last Stand. Another thing is that the Doctor once again confirms that he does not see the human race as small. It's linked to TV story The End of Time and the TV story Hide. Another thing is that the Doctor remembers that he wore a scarf once. He dismisses the idea to have one as it will look stupid. There's a link to TV story Robot, the 4th Doctor Tom Baker. After the Doctor collapses, Jenny asks Clara who he is, and Clara replies that he's the Doctor, mirroring conversation Rose and Jackie Tyler had after the 9th Doctor's regeneration in the TV Christmas special Christmas Invasion. After seeing the new Doctor, Madame Frastra says, "Well, then here you go again," just as the Brigadier did after the 3rd Doctor's regeneration. Well then, here we go again, in the TV story, The Planet of the Spiders. Another thing is that Strax continues to call Clara boy, as he still has trouble telling male and female genders apart. We see that, for example, in The Snowman and The Crimson Horror. Clara reveals she had a poster of the philosopher Marcus Aurelius in her room when she was 15. She previously quoted him in her classroom. There's a link to TV story The Day of the Doctor. A dinosaur on the Doctor befriends is brutally killed, as happened when Tracy was shot by Solomon's robots in TV story Dinosaurs on a Spaceship. Another thing is that the Doctor previously took a companion to Scotland accidentally when trying to take her home. And we see that in TV story School Reunion. Unlike Sarah Jane Smith, Clara will only wait 3 weeks for the Doctor to return. The link to TV story Into the Dalek. Another thing is that the Doctor had previously encountered beings who were continuously repaired for so long that he presumed that there were likely nothing of the original person left. There's a link to the TV story The Doctor's Wife. When Clara agreed to some coffee in Glasgow, she told the doctor to pay, and he said he didn't have any money. Ninth Doctor Pusley said the same to Rose Tyler when she wanted some chips and told him to pay. She had in a link to the story The End of the World. The third Doctor also needs to borrow some change from Liz Shaw to call unit to ask for Waxworks exhibition to be rated in the TV story Spearhead from Space. Um, Another thing, while trying to persuade Clara to stay with his next incarnation, the 11th Doctor asks her to help him. Unknown to him, it was through those same words that Clara persuaded the Time Lords to grant him a new cycle of regenerations. That is a link to the TV story The Time of the Doctor. Another thing is that Foster claims that Clara knows the Doctor better than anyone. This is not exaggeration, as she is the only known person to have witnessed his entire life. Linked to the name of the Doctor. In the ally scene, Doctor suddenly exclaims, "Shut up! I missed something. I saw. What did I see?" This is nearly identical to what the 11th Doctor said when he noticed Rory Williams taking a picture of Prisoner Zero instead of looking up at the sky going dark like everyone else. And that is the TV story 11th Hour. Clara gets upset when the Doctor calls her a control freak and emphatically denies it, even though she admitted to being one while under the influence of the truth field on Trenzalore, as a link to TV story The Time of the Doctor. Next thing, the Doctor comments that the SS Marie Antoinette had to take the long way around to try to return to its home. We see that also in the Fae story Day of the Doctor. And the last thing in continuity, in context, is that Doctor claims he is not Clara's boyfriend, which clarifies the assumption is not her fault. Before the siege of Transalore, 11th Doctor had been eager to be her boyfriend. Linked to the TV story The Time of the Doctor, with Angie and Artie Maitland openly referring to him as Clara's boyfriend. See it in the TV story The Crimson Horror and Nightmare in Silver. So, and that, my friends and companions, is all I have to say about this story called Deep Breath with the 12th Doctor, Peter Capaldi. So, if you want to contact, you can contact me by sending a message in Discord. My username is Enigmatic Joker. And of course, you can put a comment under one of the videos to chat with me, to contact me, whatever. So, for now, I'm looking forward to see you and to hear from you. And also in next live stream, or in the previous live stream, or in this current live stream. And for now, enjoy your day. Bye bye. Best wishes to you. All good luck to you. Bye bye.